Morning. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's ODTN use case team call. Um, First of all, as a reminder, please review the reference design. As a member organization, those of you who are part of a member organization can comment on it, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on it. And at the end of January, I think it's a deadline, so there's still some time to do. And then the reference design team will address those comments that you guys put together. The links are there, so please go ahead and check it out. If you have any troubles, any problems, anything that you might want to discuss outside of the Jira, which is the proper way to provide feedback, just drop me an email and we can take it offline on that. Another point that I want to make is that we just released ONOS 2.0. There will be an update 2.0.x after OFC, and I would consider that the official first ODTN tag, because it will comprise both of terminal device and open lines, optical open line system programming. But more on that later. In the 2.0 branch, there have been a number of commits that made it in that are very important for ODTN. Mainly the update of the Yang tools to 2.6.1 to address some JSON serialization. So if you're interested, go take a look at what exactly made it in and didn't made it in. The Lambda query from the Telefonica guys made it in. The device description discovery for the OLS made it in. The 2.0 release, but for the flow root programmable, the TAPI mapping, things we will talk more about later, those did not make it inside the 2.0 branch, and we're gonna make them into the 2.0.1 in the future. You can go ahead and download it if you want here, or on Docker. There's a Docker image if you guys want and prefer that. Okay. Having said that, I would like Karthik to give us an update on the TAPI RI and the TAPI 2.2 process that's going on in the TAPI group.
Hey, Andrea. So as far as TAPI 2.2, nothing has changed from last week in the sense of where we are.
Okay.
Get it done by either end of this month or early first week of February, right? So that we can do the RC1 around that time frame. And then we are giving like about a month for RC1 review, and then we plan to do RC2 in Feb, as well as RC3 in March. And we will be doing a release at the end of March for 2.2. And I already gave an update last week, so there's nothing changed in terms of the scope.
Okay.
Which is like mostly it's going to be updates to our resilience and OEM models and photonic models. And we plan to add like an equipment model feature, equipment inventory. Not configuration, but just purely inventory.
Okay, thanks, Karthik.
That's where we are. And the RI, I would start the RI work, like I mentioned, once we do the RC1, because then I have a stable API so that I don't do something very temporary and then I have to go back and change again.
Yes.
So then I can go back and do the RC. I mean, between RC1 and RC2, I'll update the reference implementation.
Okay, thanks.
So that it follows the latest. Yeah, okay. And for this time, at least the RI, I want to update to use more photonic parameters and so on, because I had some queries from Ramon. We want to just make sure we can at least test those kind of things.
Okay. One thing, could you stick up until the end of the call, because I would like to discuss some power configuration topic with everybody, and it includes some TAPI things, TAPI related things at least.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be here. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Just a shout out to Hamano from NTT, because he fixed some minor bugs and error that issues that were not like functionality impacting, but that he took up and fixed. If you guys are interested, like these few patches from this morning were merged by myself and were made by Amano. So a huge shout out to him, and Hiroki, if you hear from him, please extend my thanks for them.
Nothing for me. Thanks.
Okay. Then on the Jira stories. Okay, so an update on the flow rule programmable. I'm in the current process of testing it. The patch, you can see it here. I did some personal updates on a personal branch in my laptop that I don't have uploaded yet. But I was able to make it partially run with the emulator that Arturo provided and that they have done some testing with. I was just waiting on a reply from some of the Adva folks on the exact path they plan to use for their OLS controller in order for me to make sure that the simulator that I'm using and I'm testing with uses the same path. So I programmed the ONOS driver in the proper way. So I believe, Stefan, if I think you're on that thread, if you can take a look at it, that would be great.
We'll do, and also we'll have time to check with the technical experts, with Konrad and Rafal, but we'll do.
Thanks. And if you need any clarification on that, I'll be happy to provide them in the same email, same thread.
Good.
Sorry, not disturb. Okay, but from a device discovery and a Lambda query perspective, that is done. So that's good information, and the code is there. It's just a matter of changing the path and maybe some parsing of the JSON returned from the OLS to be able to program it entirely. So that's good news. The 7827 from Ramon. Unfortunately, Ramon cannot join the call because of personal matters. But I spoke with him this morning, and as you can see in the review here, the code is uploaded. There are some changes that we agreed on making. Basically, he went through the net CFG subsystem to save some of the information that is received from the TAPI northbound and propagated to the intent subsystem, but in order to mimic a phase 1.0 code. But by taking a look at the code and discussing with him, we actually agreed that a lot of this net CFG is not needed because the information is persisted inside the intent subsystem. So while this works, he's gonna go in by the end of by the first few days of next week, and it's gonna remove the TAPI connectivity config, the network config emitter, and some of the useless code that is there, and we'll just take an approach of calling the service application component, which is our main ODTN app service, from the DCS-based API connectivity manager, in order for it to be a one-stop without having to actually save some information that will be just duplicated because it's already saved in the intent subsystem. So what's going to happen is that then the intent subsystem will issue the intent, and the drivers will pick it up from the OLS with my flow rule programmable, and from for example, the Nokia or any given transponder with their flow rule programmable. So that's the state of this patch. Ramon promised me that he's gonna work on it if he can this week, if not next week, by the start of next week. So I still have a very high level of confidence that at least these two pieces can be ready for the first week of end of January, in order for us to test the whole equipment in the first week of February, and make sure that everything is ready for the first week of March, where the OFC is happening, where we're gonna showcase the first implementation of phase 1.5. Okay, having said that, that covers also 7837. 7841 is basically an ongoing task for me to keep updated ONOS 2.0 branch. Just let me do one thing, Hiroki, sorry. I'm gonna move you a little bit lower because I want to finish up something from my update on my side. So I also spoke with Dominique and Juan. They were busy for an internal project, but they are also confident that by the end of this week, start of next week, they are gonna have the flow rule programmable to configure the power to configure the wavelength and eventually the power on the Nokia transponder and the Lambda query for their transponder. So that's also good on that time frame that I said before, to test everything. And the first things are going to be tested with emulators probably, but then we're going to test with physical hardware in the Telefonica lab. So that's good news. And the same for 7893, that's Metro Hall specific emulators for the Flow programmer and drivers for their devices. Alessio's working on it. I have a draft patch, but unfortunately, he's off for like a week or so, and he's gonna be back next week, and he's gonna finish up the patch and push it. So it's good that we have a big push in terms of code that is coming in and will enable us to have the solution ready. In the meantime, minor things that are happening is that, well, we merged all of these elements, but those things you already know. One point that has been long standing, and with this I kind of finish what I'm working on, or people that I know are working on, is that I've started talking with Jordan Halterman from the ONF in order to achieve a way for DCS to emit one single event per node, meaning that when you store a node inside DCS, at the moment it issues one event per path. So if you have a node with like 10 keys underneath it, with 10 values basically, you're going to get 10 events. And that's not really acceptable because you don't know which one to react to. So I'm being in discussion with Jordan to at least fix this specific problem that we have with DCS, and we're discussing and debating which is the best way, and I'll keep everybody updated on that. Also, a good news, and that's no, actually this is my last point. Good news. I don't know if I put it on the agenda. I think I did. No, I didn't. Whatever. Good news. We have received two Cassini boxes from EdgeCore in ONF, and we're gonna start testing with them as soon as possible, and they will be part of our testing infrastructure and also development infrastructure for ODTN, in order for us to make sure that the code is still there. And we're gonna also develop the flow reprogrammable and power config for them. Hiroki, do you want to comment on that?
Yes. I'm going to install these Cassini boxes and the server to the ON.Lab lab space, and after this meeting, so we can get started about that in this week, I think.
Okay, great. Do you have any update on the drivers increase for phase 1.5 with the flow reprogrammable and the Lambda query?
For my side, I updated the Cassini driver and to align with the latest ODTN code base updated, and also I've created the programmable driver for Cassini boxes, and I've already confirmed it correctly working with Ramon's optical intent implementation. And
that's great.
yes, so and I've already created the complete open config configuration for Cassini boxes, and I'll give it to the IP Infusion guys, and I started communication with them, so we can. I think we will start the implementation of the Cassini internal logics next week.
Okay,
That's the current situation.
That's great news. Great news, and so that's very good for our target, which is also for Cassini integration in phase 1.5, still OFC, and the following week at OCP, because we're gonna have the Cassini with the full ONOS stack with this power and lambda configuration, at least lambda configuration at the tip booth at OFC, and also at OCP. So we're going to showcase ODTN and the project and the integration with Cassini at these two conferences also. So that's good to know. More on that in the upcoming weeks. I still have to finalize some details. So thanks, Hiroki, for the update on that. Is there anything else that we need to discuss in terms of action points? No? Okay. Then I would like to go back to the power discussion that we had partially last week and partially the week before, because okay, so here we are. As we discussed in the past, the power config workflow is that we're gonna create the intent. The OLS is gonna give us back the expected power value on both ports for the input on that given port. And then we're going to use it to send it to the transponder through OpenConfig, and an extension of the power config behavior may be used in the flow programmable, may be used in the intent. That's still up for debate. I'll have to look what are the pros and cons of doing that. And so that's for the first issue of an intent or configuration to the OLS. As we discussed during our meeting together, that power configuration should be gradual, in the sense that it should not be an on-off, but the transponder should should increase the power up to the level we need, not just like open up the channel with the given maximum power, the target that we need, but instead to grow to it, because that in that way the OLS can adapt better. The one thing that I am unsure about is how to retrieve and what exact parameter do we use in TAPI to like learn about this power. So that's why I asked Kartik to stay on the call and like make sure that we have this discussion, because I went into the TAPI models and I myself, maybe it's my lacking, I couldn't understand exactly what is the place where the ONOS controller should query the OLS for a target power. I found an issue that Arturo opened like a while ago in September, but I don't know what's the status or the progress on this. Karthik, do you have any thoughts on this? What's the proper way of achieving this result? Asking the OLS the power and saving it in ONOS. Karthik? Can you guys hear me?
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'm in double mute. Sorry.
Okay.
So the status of that issue which Arturo opened, we're waiting for him to come and take it forward in TAPI, or at least propose it and have a discussion, right?
I see.
So when he had first proposed, it was already we were already in RC2, RC3, and then he said we can't include it at that time. And Arturo was okay to postpone it. But we need to revive it, right? And we need Arturo to, or somebody else from ODTN to come and present it. And make a case that we just need it, and you may have some discussions, maybe not.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, but
yeah, Arturo did mention that. I mean, I know what Arturo wants because we did talk about it, but
yeah,
he has to just present it in the TAPI group.
Okay, but as it stands today, there is no way of retrieving the power. Is that?
No, there is a way of retrieving the current power, the provision, right? I think what he wanted was more like the ranges.
Okay. So, okay. No, yes, I agree. We would. So
there is a way to request power, target power, but
okay.
From the capability point of view, you don't know what is the upper and lower limits. We put in the power thresholds, but not the power ranges.
Okay. Can you provide me with a pointer to the model and the parameter where the target power is? Because I perfectly agree. I would very much like to have a range in there instead of a value, because it would be better and would provide the transponder more flexibility. But at least for now, we could start looking at dealing with the target power, because the process, at least in ONOS, in my opinion, would be the same, because we're going to retrieve, it's going to be the process of retrieving it and sending it to the transponders is going to be exactly the same, either it is a single value or a list of values. So it would be interesting for me to have that, even a single value parameter at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I can show you I can send you the pointer, but it's in the photonic model, medium model, and either you can look at it from UML or in Yang or OpenAPI. And the pack is called Power Properties Pack. But
let's see if I. What's it called?
So if you search for power properties or just even power in that file, you should see it.
Oh, it's this one?
Yeah, there's transmitted power and received power.
Okay.
Right on your terminations that you can actually, that's the one which the equipment measures. And there is separately, you can ask for configuration of these values. It should be called OTSA termination config pack. Right, there's the same simple termination is the state, and there's a config, OTSI termination config.
This.
Yeah, in this again, you'll find the power parameter.
So what we need is this, basically.
This is how you set it. So what we don't have is what Arturo proposed.
Oh, so this is how you set?
Right.
Okay, how do you retrieve? Because I'm not
The other
expecting
one
it
is the
to
retrieve.
set at the moment.
Okay. The other one was retrieve, right? The previous search
Oh.
that you did on OTSI termination pack.
This. So
OTSI termination pack, yes. That is the actual values, the transmitted and the received power.
Okay, but what we were really interested in is the transmitted power. Is that the expected one?
This is actual. The expected one is what is set, right? So in the configuration you set it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it is.
Okay, so basically we need these two.
Right.
Okay.
Let me see 1 minute. I think this might be the expected. I'm just looking at it. No, there is measured is separate. Okay, sorry. I just take my thing back. So this is what is transmitted and received power on the transmitters, and also in the media channel properties pack. So this is what is provisioned on your transponders, right? The transmitted power and the received power. The media channel properties pack will actually tell you the measured power.
Measured power.
So measured power ingress, measured power egress.
No, well, but this is really
with all of these three. I mean, between these, I mean, so you can configure it, and then you see what was provisioned, and what is the values, and then there is the measured ones.
Because I'm not expecting.
Right. But there is definitely some gap. Like I said, like we don't expose the capability, right? So that's what Arturo wants.
Yes.
So that he can provision it. He can provision it, knowing what is the valid values range.
But if the OLS inside itself sets it, we are gonna get it with
this is what you get. So if OLS sets it, this is good enough.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
This is what I'm looking for at the moment.
So
I completely.
The OLS manages. Right. So the OLS manages the power. Then for every media channel point, right, media channel endpoint or a media channel point, it will expose the measured power, right, and then it will also tell you what, I mean, depending on who manages the transponder, they will tell you what is the transmit power and receive power on the transponders.
Okay. So this is
right.
what.
And so now, this was basically again I keep emphasizing, right? This was based on a use case proposed by someone which was more like passive. We are just exposing. If there is a use case, different use case, right, and this is not sufficient, that's what we need for discussion.
Okay.
Right, and Arturo has some use case where he would want to manage the power completely over TAPI, and in which case you need all this information.
Then I'll take an action on myself to discuss that with Arturo and make sure that we come to you guys with the proper use case and join the TAPI calls for at least the amount of time when we
at least one call. If you join, that's good. We can keep one dedicated for this kind of discussions.
Yeah, maybe even a few. That's okay. But yeah, I'll take it on myself to discuss it with Arturo and join the TAPI call.
Right.
Okay.
But just let me clarify again, Andrea. Like, you're not looking to manage power control, power control and ONOS, right?
No,
you're just delegating that to the OLS.
So exactly, for the OLS, we're not looking at managing it. We're looking at retrieving it. We're looking at managing it on the transponder. Yes, we are. But we are not looking at configuring it on the OLS. The OLS is just asking for it's gonna give ONOS a certain power after it set up the channel. So my at least my use case, but at least my understanding of the use case and the flow is gonna be this: we ask a connectivity service. That connectivity service will be handled by the OLS and set up. So after the setup of the connectivity service, we're going to get back at 200. Okay, that's everything. Everything is good. And then ONOS will go in and ask, okay, everything is good, but what power do you want on that connectivity service that you just set up? On that specific port that you used for that specific element, what do you want? It's going to get it from the OLS and take it inside, and then use the OpenConfig terminal device configuration here to set it on the line side ports of the transponders.
So I think then there is a gap. I don't think on the OLS there is a way. So OLS only exposes measured power, right? I think there may be a gap in here with this use case. I think we should just present it. And on the topic call, where the photonic experts also are in there. So
okay.
Yeah, maybe Stefan, maybe a general remark. And yeah, we talked about that anyway earlier. So power is certainly an important parameter, in order not to overload maybe the OLS. But I mean, in setting up such a service, in reality, what is happening is that the receiver of the transponder would need a certain optical signal to noise ratio. That's the key parameter, because based on this optical signal to noise ratio, he can then guarantee a certain bit error rate with the forward error correction he's using. Okay, so generally, if you would do a link design, you would get the transmitter OSNR at the input of that link. Yeah, that's specifically important if you would have a sequence of OLSs and so that already kind of a degraded signal to noise ratio would enter the system, and then the OLS would calculate the resulting OSNR at the output because of the additional noise the system is generating through the amplifiers which we've got in the system. Yeah, and this would be an OSNR which could be reported, or maybe the more practical use case would be that the transponder would tell us, like I said, the required OSNR at the receiver, and would tell us the input OSNR. Then we could calculate, or the OLS would calculate the OSNR at the output of the system, and just checking if this would match the required OSNR, or if there are several possible links in the network, it would then select those links which would meet the OSNR. That's basically anyway what a optical path computation engine would do. It would calculate the OSNRs and then select the links which would meet the OSNR requirements, and then these selected links would be communicated as possible links to ONOS. And then yes, power levels would also be interesting, like I said, in order to avoid overloading of the system. On the other hand, typical systems would anyway use some variable optical attenuators and adjust the power level accordingly. So yes, power is important, but the more important parameter would really be the OSNR. And what I saw in Arturo's email, you just shared, he's also talking about OSNR, So I think that would be the typical sequence. Transponders tell OLS the required OSNR via TAPI, then OLS would do the calculation and then expose the links which would meet these OSNR requirements. So that's typically the way I would see it.
Okay. Yes.
That makes sense?
Yeah, no, makes sense. It does make sense. Then let me do this. Let me talk with Arturo. Like discuss this a little bit. Also, give some more thoughts on this myself. Like do a little bit of research myself to understand better, because I think I need a deeper understanding of the use case myself too. And then we can bring it up again in this call, and then move it to the topic call.
Okay, super. And as you see in this conversation, the third section, he's talking about these OSNR topics. Yeah, but yeah, let's do it like this. Sounds
okay.
good.
Okay, yeah. And unfortunately,
actually, it's good to first discuss it on this call. Get a clear picture of what is it that we need here.
Okay.
Before we go to tapping group, because then it'll probably be whatever we go there will be challenged and torn apart. So that's why we had to be clear on what we want to do here.
Yeah, no. I agree and understand. Yes, I need. I also myself need a better understanding of this because I thought it would be better to use the power instead. It's getting clear to me that probably we need both, and and that the process is not as easy as I thought. So I might have to do some digging inside, like the use case, ONOS, and like in general optical parameters to better clarify also myself the use case, and then talk with Arturo, bring it up on the call again, and maybe share an email with people from the different groups that we have, and gather consensus, and then go to the TAPI people. If we do it fast enough, can we expect to have this ready for TAPI 2.2? Can we maybe make it or not?
So we can keep it open for now. Like we'll probably not make it. I mean, I don't know how much fast we have.
Okay.
We have like another week, 2 weeks. But even then, like we can try to get it in RC one after that. Post RC one. And there are even other ways we can get this in, right? Without actually like getting into TAPI, we can even do an extension, but we can probably do it in RC1. I don't know, Lyndon, still on the call? We can just find it as a gap or something and do it as a bug.
Sure.
We cannot do what
I don't want to jump hoops. I just want to make sure that in the end we just get it in at some point, and if we need it, that's the sooner the better. That's what I'm saying. And at the moment, this is not needed, per my understanding, for the OFC demo, because we agreed on blasting the whole maximum output power from the transponder, and same happening in the OLS. So at least on that side, we're not like impaired by this to do the demo. But that's definitely something that we will need for the production deployments that we're looking at. So it's gonna be the next step. At least that's my understanding.
So Andrea, like if you want to get it in, it's best to just present it in next TAPI call. Right?
Okay.
And because Arturo already has a solution, if nothing else, we just need to quickly decide what we want here.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And just do a pull request with the changes, and that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's simple as that, right? If it's like whatever parameters you need, just put it in.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Arturo is on vacation, so I would like to discuss this with him before coming to TAPI. But
and also, Stefan and others, whoever else, the Nokia folks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would like.
I don't know who all are going to use this or implement it. We need to get some agreement.
Yeah, no. I agree. This needs to be discussed also with a few other people. But I'll throw an email around and see where it goes. And after understanding a little bit myself, I need to do a little bit of study. Just that I have to say. Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other comments? So I think on my side the agenda is done. Anything else that you guys want to discuss? If anybody has time, there are plenty of Jira tickets to pick up. These two are the ones that I was talking about, the device connection cache. This is needed for Ramon, and the general OpenConfig southbound related things. These two, if anybody has time, I would really much love to have extension of STC to be tested with devices added to ONOS. I've just tested that the apps are there right now at the moment. Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of tasks if anybody wants to take take care of any of those, just feel free to send me a message. And yeah, other than that, is there any other comments, any other thoughts that you guys want to share? No? Okay. Then what I'll do is everybody has his action points. I'll take care of my own and discuss with Arturo, especially around the power, and get back to everybody, if not before next call, on the next call. I hope to start a thread before today or tomorrow, so we can have something ready by next API call, as Karthik suggested. Okay, well then, thanks everybody, and I'll see you and talk to you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Andrea.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.